What's up? It's your boy Kevin to turn on this motherfucking YouTube shit. Wow, what the
fuck? What's up? It's your boy Kevin to turn on YouTube shit. Hey man, 7 minutes we are. Today, man, turn. Today, it's a motherfucking day. You're heading outside. Big crip in the gang. You're heading outside shit, man. Free Palestine, free Congo, Russia, do your thing, and Texas, stand the fuck up. Each day is a new day to be a better version of yourself. Never let somebody bring you down, always fight back. Never let somebody tell you are, but also put yourself in the position you belong. Let's stay humble. We're doing a revolution on the movement. Keep Yahweh first. Coming to the black Hebrew Israelite as a real Jew. Let's get out here. Alright. Boom. Today, motherfucking day. You're heading outside. Big crip in the gang, shit hooding outside shit, man. Gang. Hey man, say man, y'all already know how it going down in this bitch, man. It's another day, man. They want to bring the black man down. You dig what I'm saying? Crip. It don't matter if it's your own people, the white man, fake Jews, it don't matter. It's another day they trying to bring a successful black man down. Now, are we saying that this motherfucker is 100% not guilty? Bitch, I don't know. At the end of the day, you know what I'm saying? A lot of this shit, man, you gotta be in the know of the know. You dig what I'm saying? But you know, it's a lot of people crip who was in the know of the know, and a lot of them who wasn't. But we deciphering through all the bullshit, crip, and trying to get the, you know what I'm saying, the best facts of what's happening in the court. You know what I'm saying? Because then the court starting, he's on his hearing and shit. You know, Diddy facing life in prison if he don't win this case. So he decided to take it to trial. The only reason bad cases usually don't make it because people don't try to go to court for him. But shit, you know, he can win. He's a billionaire. So it's like, at the end of the day, it might be Munyon versus Munyon, or I think it's a jury. So a lot is going on with the jury already. They already trying to expose Diddy for some bullshit. It's a lot going on. So we got the case. Let's get into it. Shit, wow, man. You know, free Diddy. Hey, shout to Celebrity Buzz. Hey, man, say, man, we've been waiting a whole year or two to see what's going on with the Diddy file. Hey, I hope Diddy get free. You know what I'm saying? Crip, they got a lot of people that's going against him. So we all just trying to see what's going to happen in his trial. Let's get to it. And yeah, let me know.
With a recap of what was day 3 in the trial of Sean Diddy Combs. Once again, the prosecution's star witness, Cassie Ventura, was on the stand, and her testimony was both graphic and disturbing.
Team by CNN appears to show the music mogul assaulting his then-girlfriend Cassie Ventura at a hotel in 2016. In the video, Combs can be seen striking and kicking Ventura as she tried to leave. I have the video right in front of me.
What words from Cassie's lips sent shockwaves through the courtroom, pushed Diddy to the edge of a life sentence, and left his daughter reeling, sick with dread. The federal trial of Sean Diddy Combs is a spectacle unfolding in real time, a whirlwind of stunning revelations centered on one pivotal figure. Cassie Ventura, once Diddy's lover and now one of his fiercest accusers, took the stand as the prosecution's linchpin. Was she prepared? Beyond prepared, she radiated unshakable confidence, ready to unravel a story that would haunt everyone in that room. Cassie didn't just testify, she dragged the court into the depths of a personal hell she endured as Diddy's girlfriend. This wasn't merely about the brutal violence captured in that 2016 hotel video the world already knew. No, she peeled back layers of something far darker, twisted games and secret parties so depraved they defy imagination. Then came the names. Names of those allegedly coerced, drugged, and filmed, their identities spilling into the open like a dam breaking. The courtroom held its breath as each revelation landed heavier than the last. Just a few feet away sat the man who forged the Bad Boy Records empire, once hailed as hip-hop's untouchable king. crumbled into panic as Cassie's testimony carved through his legacy. Picture it, the mogul who'd strode in with the swagger of a titan, now frozen, his eyes betraying a dawning horror.
Especially
These
when he
accusations,
had to
backed
do
by
that
the evidence
apology for
Cassie
everybody.
clutched,
He caught all the
texts,
people with that
recordings,
kid.
perhaps more, could lock him away for life, his empire reduced to ash. If you thought this
But
scandal
we
was
know
just
they've
a
been trying to get
publicity
black
stunt,
niggas out the
listen to
tank.
Cassie's own words. Who was forced into what? Who supplied the drugs? Who filmed those sick games? Does she hold the critical evidence to lock up this music titan, or is there an even bigger secret waiting to be unveiled? This trial might spell the end of a showbiz empire, and here's everything Cassie revealed. Uncut, unfiltered, all in this video.
Live from the Southern District Court in New York, Manhattan woke to a tense electric atmosphere this morning. A biting wind swept across the steps of the Southern District Courthouse, where a swelling crowd gathered in breathless anticipation.
Everybody, mama at that
Reporters
bit, huh?
jostled
See what's
from position,
going on.
cameras flashing like a storm about to break. Women's rights activists held aloft bold red banners proclaiming justice for Cassie. Meanwhile, a small
She already
group
got
of Diddy
justice.
supporters chanted, "They're slandering our king." One banner, caught by a gust of wind, fell to the ground, revealing a handwritten message: "The truth will prevail."
And then the main act took the stage. Diddy strode into the courtroom, his presence radiating an almost arrogant confidence. Flanked by a cadre of elite lawyers paid millions to shield an empire teetering on the brink, he moved like a man untouchable. But that swagger, it was destined to crumble. Across the room, on the witness stand, stood Cassandra Ventura, known to the world as Cassie. 8.5 months pregnant, her hand rested gently on the hem of a simple brown dress. Her face, bare of heavy makeup, carried an unshakable resolve in her eyes. In the rows behind, her husband, fitness trainer Alex Fine, sat on the right, his gaze a quiet beacon cutting through the shadows, fueling her with unspoken strength. This was no ordinary trial. This was the moment an empire faced its reckoning. For over a decade, the relationship between Diddy and Cassie had burned bright, only to fade silently in 2018. But the secrets buried in the darkness of those years, they were about to be dragged unsparingly into the light. Over a year ago, Cassie filed a lawsuit against Diddy, accusing him of abuse,
crazy. Her
control,
music
and
didn't go
sexual
no type of
exploitation.
nowhere.
Allegations the
Her
hip-hop
lawsuit
mogul
was
fiercely
going more
denied.
viral
The
quick
civil
than
case was
her
settled in a mere 24 hours, a speed so dizzying it raised eyebrows across the industry. But the story didn't end there. Those accusations lit a fuse that sparked a federal investigation.
fucking up.
What began as a quiet civil suit exploded into the biggest scandal to rock American entertainment in years. Today, Cassie isn't here to sue, she's here to testify, in public, under oath.
Yeah, because she already done sued.
She's doing well. She's got a restful night. She's ready for cross-examination, and we're very confident that she's going to do perfectly. Thank you. All right, thank you.
What really happened behind those closed doors? How could a romantic relationship twist into the living hell Cassie describes? And the question that haunts most, how could a woman endure such horrors for an entire decade? This isn't just a tale of Cassie and Diddy. It's a story of power, control, violence, and the complicit silence of an industry, of a society. A society that once worshipped the glitz and glamour, blind to the darkness lurking beneath. Cassie, now carrying the child of another man, has sacrificed everything: her privacy, her safety, even the peace of her final trimester. All to stand in the eye of a media storm, reliving the most agonizing memories of her life. Step into the shattering details of Cassie's second day of testimony and discover why this isn't merely a trial. It's an unmasking of the demon once hailed as the entertainment titan named Diddy. At 10:12 a.m., the name Cassandra Ventura, known to the world as Cassie, rang out in the courtroom. Before her, two witnesses had taken the stand, laying the first grim pieces of a puzzle that would stun the world. Nearly 9 months pregnant, Cassie stepped onto the witness stand, her frame trembling, yet her eyes blazing with resolve, like a warrior braced to confront the ghosts of her past. The air in the courtroom was taut as a bowstring, not a whisper, not a stray sound. Every soul seemed to hold their breath, poised for the truths she would unveil.
Everyone was leaning in and focusing and watching this video. Literally, you can hear a pin drop in that courtroom.
The panel of jurors began with gentle questions, as if to steady Cassie before plunging into the heart-wrenching details that lay ahead.
How old are you?
38.
What is your work?
Musician and entertainer.
How long were you with Sean?
10 years.
10 years, a decade trapped in a living hell. In 2006, Cassie, a 19-year-old with starry eyes and boundless dreams, signed with Bad Boy Records, Diddy's empire. She had no idea that step would lead her into the clutches of a tyrant. Love for Diddy wasn't an emotion, it was an invisible chain, strangling her soul, crushing her dignity. In a haunting testimony that chilled the courtroom, Cassie ripped away the glittering facade of the music world to expose a horrifying truth. To the public, Diddy was the music mogul, the mastermind who built Bad Boy Records, turned artists into superstars, and expanded his reign into fashion and media, but behind closed doors, as Cassie revealed, he was a monster, violent, controlling, and utterly ruthless.
She said that Sean Combs directed everything from what she had on, to the lighting in the room, to how she was supposed to interact with the person that she was having sex with.
Diddy held Cassie's life in a vice grip, dictating every detail, the color of her nails, white French style, the cut of her hair, even the way she spoke to others, especially in the bedroom. The freak-offs, those sordid gatherings she was forced to endure, weren't her choice. They were Diddy's twisted pleasure, watching her with other men, not because she desired it, but because she was too young, too naive, desperate to please the powerful man who controlled her career with an iron fist.
Let me show you a video. Where is this?
The Intercontinental in Los Angeles. It was after a freak-off.
What does that entail?
The hiring of an setting it up.
How did you feel when he first asked for it?
Confused, nervous. I wanted to make him happy.
Did you agree to one when he first proposed it?
Yes. Then there were more. It wasn't something I wanted to do, at least not that frequently.
Just 6 months after meeting Diddy, Cassie was dragged into the sinister underworld of freak-offs, depraved marathons stretching 36 to 96 hours, sometimes 4 relentless days. These weren't rare indulgences, they were a weekly ritual staged in opulent hotels like the Intercontinental, Trump Gramercy, or Mandarin Oriental under aliases like Jackie Starr or Frank Black, cloaking their darkness in false names.
Combs suggested hiring an escort to have sex with her while he watched. My stomach churned, Ventura said. I was confused, nervous, but also loved him very much and wanted to make him happy.
Cassie described hotel rooms drenched in blood, urine, and so much baby oil that the judge had to halt the prosecutor's questioning. She was forced to recruit escorts through Craigslist or Backpage, men like Clayton Howard or The Punisher, and perform with them in warped scenarios scripted by Diddy himself. Every detail was his to command the flicker of Glade candles, the room's precise temperature, Johnson's baby oil for a glistening effect, and Astroglide lubricant. If we ran out, I had to call the front desk and tip them, she recounted, her voice flat, as if reciting a nightmare she couldn't escape. Cassie revealed how Diddy coerced her into taking ecstasy, cocaine, Molly, GHB, Special K, and mushrooms to keep her awake through those endless days. I vomited from ecstasy and MDA, she said. GHB made my heart race. I hated it. Sometimes Diddy watched via FaceTime, treating her like a toy in his twisted game. I felt disgusted, she confessed. Too much in my mouth. I was choking. Once candle wax was poured onto her skin. I didn't want it, she insisted, her hands cradling her pregnant belly as if shielding her unborn child from the horrors of her past. The breaking point came one night in Las Vegas in 2010. High on ecstasy, Cassie lay on the hotel floor, dim lights casting an eerie glow. Diddy and an escort stood over her, urinating on her face. I was gagging, she sobbed, her voice breaking. I felt filthy, worthless. But if I refused, he'd beat me. The courtroom fell deathly silent, even veteran reporters frozen by the ghastly truth. Cassie admitted she once looked forward to the freak-offs, not for pleasure, but because they were her only moments alone with Diddy. I loved him, she choked out. I thought it was how to make him happy. Her confession laid bare the cruel psychological manipulation she endured, young and naive, in the grip of a predator.
Did you want to stop?
Yes. I was humiliated. I didn't have those words then. I couldn't talk to anyone about it.
Did you tell him you didn't want to?
Yes.
Why did you feel you couldn't say no?
I didn't want to make him angry or upset after he'd shared this part of himself with me.
Fear became her constant companion. Diddy recorded the freak-off videos, wielding them as a blackmailer's weapon to keep Cassie in chains. A 2010 email laid bare in court showed her pleading to stop, but Diddy's response was a chilling threat he'd leak the videos online. I deleted them from my devices, she said, her voice heavy with disgust. They were vile. Yet she lived in dread, unsure if Diddy still held those damning files. Cassie also revealed how he menaced her family, vowing retribution if she dared speak out.
Did you get in arguments?
Yes, it would result in dragging.
What else did he do?
Me in the head if I was down.
How frequently was he?
Too frequently. I would get black eyes and...
The horror didn't stop at sexual abuse and control. For 10 long years, violence was Cassie's constant shadow.
Where he would mash my head, knock me over, drag me, kick me.
Cassie's voice voice trembled as she recounted a nightmare of brutality, a relentless storm of violence that left her broken. She spoke of savage beatings, her head smashed, her body dragged across floors, kicked, stomped, hurled against walls, shoved down stairs, and choked until the world faded to black. Each blow wasn't just physical, it carved scars into her soul, wounds that time could never heal. But one memory burned brighter than the rest. A haunting nightmare from 2012 at the Four Seasons Hotel that Cassie said she'd carry forever. It started innocently enough, an industry after-party buzzing with music and power. Then Diddy's rage ignited. Why? Because Cassie dared to speak to another music executive. That famous red carpet smile vanished, replaced by a snarl. He grabbed her arm so hard it left marks, hissing threats in her ear while flashing charm to the crowd. Picture it. A man who owned every room he walked into, dragging her through the hotel lobby like a possession, her pleas drowned out by the clatter of wealth and fame. Hotel security approached, their eyes widening as they recognized Diddy. "Everything okay?" one asked. A nod from the mogul and they melted away, leaving Cassie alone in his grip. No one asked her if she was okay. Up in the room, the mask was gone. A champagne bottle flew past her head, shattering against the wall. Lamps smashed, tables flipped, the room torn apart in his fury. For over 48 hours, she was a prisoner, her phone snatched, her freedom stolen, threats ringing in her ears if she dared call for help. "I thought I was going to die that night," she whispered, her voice so soft the courtroom leaned forward, hanging on every word. The next morning, in the dim light of a bathroom mirror, she snapped photos, bruises snaking across her arms, a split lip, a neck red with violence. "I took them because I was afraid no one would believe me," she said, her words cutting through the silence. Then came the 2016 surveillance video, projected for all to see. Grainy footage showed Diddy dragging Cassie down a hotel corridor, her body limp, her fight fading. The prosecutor's voice was sharp. "Where is this?" "The Intercontinental," Cassie answered, her voice steady now. "That was the night I tried to escape. I reached for the hotel phone. He ripped it away, took my bag, everything." The photos she took afterward, raw, desperate images of bruises and a torn lip, hit the jury like a shockwave. One female juror covered her mouth, stifling a gasp. Two male jurors turned away, unable to face the truth staring back from the courtroom screens. "I took them because I was afraid no one would believe me," Cassie repeated, her words a quiet but unshakable indictment. In that moment, the untouchable king of music looked small, his empire crumbling under the weight of her truth. Cassie didn't just bring her story to the courtroom. She brought an arsenal of evidence meticulously gathered in secret over years. Text messages, emails, photos, audio recordings, each one a dagger aimed at Diddy's carefully crafted empire. In them, he was both contrite and menacing, apologizing for brutal beatings in one breath, threatening to torch her career in the next. One message laid bare his desperation, a staggering $2 million offer for a clean break, a bribe to bury the past and keep her silent. But the real shock? Messages from A-list stars, a chart-topping rapper, a beloved pop diva, a veteran producer, all expressing horror at what they'd witnessed. Their words shredded Diddy's public claims that no one ever saw him do wrong, exposing a truth the world hadn't seen. The prosecution didn't hold back, reading Diddy's chilling threats aloud. Demands for Cassie to recruit other women. References to hidden cameras capturing it all. Photos of her injuries, corroborated by friends, flashed on the screens, each bruise a silent scream. Hospital records under a false name and flight logs tying Diddy to the infamous freak-off parties, complete with hired escorts, wove a damning web. Cassie's voice broke as she described flipping through a notebook, a grim roster of escorts Diddy used, and how he forced her into encounters she never wanted. "I felt like an object," she said, her voice shattering, tears spilling over, like something for him to use. Amid the horror, Cassie paused, her gaze lost in the void. In a moment that stopped the courtroom cold, she confessed she had once loved Diddy with every fiber of her being. "He was my everything," she whispered, her voice trembling. "Those freak-offs, they were the only times I got him to myself, the only moments I felt connected to him." Her words hung heavy, a gut punch no one saw coming. Who could imagine it? In the heart of a nightmare, Cassie had clung to love, sacrificing herself for fleeting scraps of warmth from the man she adored. But that love became her prison. Diddy, she said, turned her into a puppet, twisting her mind and strangling her musical dreams. "I stopped feeling human," she sobbed, reliving the days she bent to his will, using drugs, enduring freak-offs, all to escape his wrath. "I was just a young girl, thinking he'd lift my career. She choked out, her voice raw with pain. The jury sat frozen, jurors' eyes glistening, as the weight of her words rewrote the story of a mogul's legacy. This wasn't just testimony, it was the unraveling of a myth, and Diddy could only watch as his untouchable crown slipped away. At the defendant's table, Diddy sat rigid, his face a mask of stone, fingers clenched around a water glass. The swagger he'd strutted in with that morning, gone, obliterated within 30 minutes of Cassie's searing testimony. He fumbled with his tie, his cufflinks, scribbling frantic notes, whispering to his lawyers, but most of the time his eyes were locked on Cassie, a piercing glare that seemed to burn through her. Cassie never met his gaze, not once, as if his presence was a shadow she refused to face. But when she unveiled her arsenal, text messages, emails, apologies from Diddy for his violence, threats to crush her career, his shock was palpable. He had no idea she'd been safeguarding these secrets for years. Messages from his inner circle, big-name friends, and business partners confirmed they'd seen his dark side at private parties. One, from producer Dallas Austin, a friend Cassie trusted, pleaded for her safety. These, alongside photos of her wounds and hospital records under a false name, painted a portrait of a Diddy the world never knew. Cassie went further, naming Diddy's loyal lieutenants, security, drivers, a former chief of staff, a financial handler, and their roles in his web of control. 7 photos of these figures flashed on the prosecutor's screen, and Diddy couldn't stay still. He shot to his feet, fury erupting as he roared, "This is a lie. She's trying to destroy me." His lawyers scrambled, yanking him back to his seat, but Diddy kept shouting, railing about betrayal. Court officers had to escort him out, leaving the courtroom in chaos. Behind him, his daughters, seated near the defense, fled in tears, unable to stomach the horrific details. Diddy's legal team, led by the sharp-tongued Tenny Garagos, fought to claw back control. They argued the 2016 video showed jealousy, not sex trafficking, and painted Cassie as a willing participant in Diddy's lavish lifestyle, driven by greed, like the $20 million civil settlement she'd secured. They hammered her drug use, questioning her memory's reliability, and pointed to date discrepancies. They called a former assistant of Cassie's to the stand, only for prosecutors to expose the witness's payments from Diddy. Cassie admitted drugs and sex were central to their relationship, but stood firm on her claims of abuse and rape, including a 2018 assault. A text from her seemed to align with Diddy, but she explained, "I sent it because I feared what he'd do." When Garagos pressed, "Why didn't you leave?" Cassie's answer silenced the room, "Because he threatened my mother would disappear." Garagos froze, and jurors exchanged glances, the weight of her words sinking in. Outside, the internet exploded. A post from Alex Fine, hailing Cassie as the strongest woman, racked up 2 million shares. Diddy's PR machine fired back, branding Cassie a schemer. But in the courtroom, his once loyal entourage began to slip away. As evidence piled up, texts, photos, recordings, they quietly exited, leaving Diddy nearly alone, just him and his lawyers against a tidal wave of truth. The man who'd ruled an empire now looked like a king dethroned, his legacy unraveling with every word Cassie spoke. Cassie's testimony stretched beyond 4 grueling hours, punctuated by pauses as her pregnancy weighed on her. Tears streamed down her face as she spoke of the freak-offs and the misguided love she once poured into Diddy, the man she called Pop Pop, who nicknamed her CC. "I did it to make him happy," she said, her voice breaking, raw with emotion. Now nearing 40, she looked back on a younger self, trapped, powerless, a girl stripped of control. "I thought I'd never escape," she confessed, "but today, I'm done staying silent." The prosecutors hammered the stark power imbalance. Cassie, a 19-year-old aspiring singer, pitted against Diddy, a 37-year-old titan who held her career and finances in his grip. They unveiled evidence of Diddy's inner circle, bodyguards, and HR chief enablers who helped him tighten his control. "If I didn't answer his call right away, someone would show up," Cassie said, her voice trembling as she glanced at photos of the guards. The prosecution's case was clear. This wasn't just domestic abuse, but a criminal enterprise, with Diddy at its core wielding fame and power to orchestrate a 2-decade web of exploitation. As Cassie stepped down from the witness stand, supported by her husband Alex, her eyes were weary but free of fear. Gone was the naive 19-year-old who'd entered Diddy's world. Today, she's a wife, a mother, expecting her 3rd child, living a quiet life with Alex, who often shares his love for her on Instagram. She's the greatest mother, he once posted, and now in the courtroom, he was her rock, unwavering at her side. The Cassie of 2025 is a far cry from the Cassie of 2006, a rising R&B star once compared to Ciara and Rihanna. Her debut album, produced by Ryan Leslie, cracked the top 20, but then nothing. "I I kept waiting, she said in her testimony, but the freak-offs held my career hostage. A 10-album deal with Bad Boy Records yielded just one release, and Cassie faded from the spotlight, resurfacing only briefly on red carpets or in a Nicki Minaj track 6 years later. Beyond the courtroom, social media erupted. Hashtags like Cassie Speaks and Diddy Trial trended worldwide. Artists like Kalani demanded the music industry take accountability, while rumors swirled about others like Meek Mill allegedly tied to the freak-offs, though no concrete evidence has emerged. But inside the courtroom, Cassie was the focal point. Alex's gaze never left her, a beacon of light piercing the darkness of her past, guiding her through the storm of memories. The story of Cassie and Diddy is a stark warning. Not every relationship draped in glamour is true love. When power is twisted to control and suffocate another, it ceases to be love, it becomes oppression. Cassie made the courageous choice to step out of the shadows and speak her truth, not just for herself, but for thousands of silent victims still trapped. And once the wheels of justice begin to turn, they don't stop easily. As day 2 of the trial drew to a close, the man who strode into the courtroom as music's untouchable king left looking like a defeated general. His security team, once a fortress around him, couldn't shield him from the storm that raged inside that courtroom. The evidence, the testimony, the recordings, they painted a picture no one could unsee. The question now isn't whether Diddy can win this case, but whether his reputation can ever recover from the truths the world heard in that courtroom today.
As we can see, it's been going down in a damn Diddy court. Let's see what's going on, man.
Now that the Diddy trial has officially kicked off, things are starting to spiral, and not in his favor. Explosive new revelations are surfacing, and reports suggest that Diddy might be involved in witness tampering and obstructing the case.
He is now being accused of obstructing justice, witness tampering, and so forth.
But that's not all. There's word he may have lied under oath, and the judge reportedly isn't taking any of it lightly. In fact, sources say he's growing more furious by the minute, and if this keeps up, Diddy could be staring down a life sentence.
Who knows how this court case
In
gets,
this video, I'll break down the courtroom chaos and exactly what Diddy did to push the judge to the edge. The courtroom bombshell. On Thursday, May 8, 2025, what started as just another day in the ongoing case against the music mogul transformed into a major development in this high-profile case. Judge Arun Subramanian presided over what would become a defining moment in these proceedings. For those who've been following this legal drama since jury selection kicked off on May 5th, 2025, the anticipation been building like crazy. The opening statements were scheduled to pop off on Monday, May 12th, marking the official start of a trial that prosecutors estimated would run anywhere from 8 to 10 weeks. The courtroom, already packed and buzzing with media attention, became even more tense when evidence emerged suggesting that Sean Diddy Combs had potentially committed perjury lying under oath during previous testimony. This revelation came during a critical pretrial hearing meant to finalize the pool of 45 potential jurors before selecting the final 12 jurors and 6 alternates needed for the trial. During this hearing, prosecutors presented new evidence that directly contradicted sworn statements Combs had previously made to the court. The specific details of the alleged perjury connect to contacts Combs reportedly made with witnesses, a subject that's been central to the prosecution's case.
According
to court documents, Combs had repeatedly denied making any attempts to influence potential witnesses or contact individuals connected to the case. However, prosecutors came through with evidence suggesting that Combs had in fact engaged in witness tampering while detained at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn. This included allegations that he used the phone accounts of at least 8 other inmates and engaged in 3-way calls to contact individuals not on his approved list, clearly violating prison regulations. But what really caused a stir was the revelation that one of the potential jurors selected for the pool worked at MDC Brooklyn, the very facility where Combs has been locked up since September 2024. This juror's disclosure had the whole courtroom shocked, with some people even breaking into inappropriate laughter at how crazy the situation was.
Now, the issue with that is Diddy is currently locked up at MDC Brooklyn. He's been housed there since September.
He could have got paid off. He could have got promised something, anything.
The judge's response was swift and decisive. Not only was the juror dismissed, but Judge Subramanian took the extraordinary step of chastising both the prosecution and defense teams for their inadequate vetting of prospective jurors. The courtroom fell silent as the judge emphasized the severity of the charges and the absolute necessity for meticulous procedure. As the hearing progressed, attention shifted to what prosecutors described as a pattern of deception by by Combs that extended far beyond the juror mishap. They presented evidence suggesting that Combs had deliberately misled the court about his communications with key witnesses in the case, including alleged contacts with individuals who had received grand jury subpoenas. According to documents presented to the court, Combs had allegedly called or texted Kalena Harper, a former associate, 58 times in just 4 days, starting September 10th, 2024, after a lawsuit was filed by Dawn Richard alleging assault and other misconduct. The total number of phone contacts between Combs and Harper reportedly reached 128 before suddenly ceasing on September 14th, 2024. Emily Johnson, a prosecutor in the case, told the court that these contacts included asking for support, friendship, and convincing the victim they willingly engaged in sex acts, with what she described as a thinly veiled reference to continuing financial support. She further alleged that Combs had used intermediaries and spread false narratives, essentially gaslighting witnesses to influence their testimony. The implications were clear. If substantiated, these actions constituted a serious obstruction of justice and a direct affront to the judicial process. The allegations of witness tampering had been a crucial factor in previous bail hearings. During a hearing on November 27, 2024, Judge Subramanian had denied bail, citing compelling evidence of Combs' propensity for violence and evidence of a serious risk of witness tampering. The judge had specifically noted violations of Bureau of Prisons regulations to obscure communications. It's worth noting that this confrontation came after multiple bail denials and increasing legal pressure on Combs. On September 19, 2024, U.S. Magistrate Judge Robin Tarnowski had denied bail, stating she could not reasonably assure his return to court or the safety of the community or a lack of witness tampering, a decision later upheld by U.S. District Judge Andrew Carter Jr. after an appeal. The case against Combs had been building steadily, with the music mogul facing charges including racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking, and transportation to engage in prostitution. The indictment alleged that between 2008 and 2024, Combs abused, threatened, and coerced women and others, leading a racketeering conspiracy that included sex trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and obstruction of justice. But yesterday's hearing raised the stakes dramatically, bringing the issue of perjury and contempt of court squarely into focus. Legal experts quickly noted that perjury in federal court is a felony offense that carries a potential sentence of up to 5 years in prison, separate from and in addition to any penalties Combs might face if convicted on the existing charges. More immediately concerning for the defense team, however, was how these revelations might impact the jury selection process and the trial itself. With Judge Subramanian now openly questioning Combs' credibility and expressing profound dissatisfaction with his conduct, the path forward suddenly appeared much more treacherous for the embattled music mogul. According to reports from those present in the courtroom, Judge Subramanian announced that he would be taking the extraordinary step of referring the matter to federal prosecutors for consideration of additional charges related to perjury and obstruction of justice. In a move that legal observers described as unprecedented in a case of this profile, the judge declared that he was revoking certain procedural privileges that had previously been extended to Combs and his legal team, citing what he termed a pattern of deception and disrespect for these proceedings. The courtroom sat in stunned silence as the ramifications of this decision became clear. By limiting certain procedural options, the judge had effectively tightened the constraints on Combs' defense strategy, creating new and significant challenges for his legal team as they prepared for opening statements. As the hearing drew to a close, the implications of what had transpired were still being processed by those in attendance. What had begun as a procedural hearing to finalize jury selection had transformed into a watershed moment that could potentially reshape the entire trajectory of this high-profile case. The events in that Manhattan courtroom on May 8, 2025 had made one thing abundantly clear. Judge Arun Subramanian was not going to tolerate any attempts to manipulate the judicial process through deception. As for what this means for the trial scheduled to begin on Monday, May 12th, that remains to be seen. But one thing is certain, the atmosphere in that courtroom has been forever altered by the judge's response to what he clearly viewed as a grievous breach of judicial trust. The witness stand revelation. The allegations against Diddy align with previous claims made by Philip Pines, Combs' former senior executive assistant.
Motherfucker that said that he was out here trying to
December 2019 to December 2021.
We watched this in jail,
In a detailed lawsuit and subsequent media appearances, Pines has painted a picture of a man accustomed to wielding his influence to ensure compliance and loyalty.
I remember hearing the words, "Prove your loyalty to me, King."
Bill Pines was Diddy's senior executive assistant from 2019 to 2021, revealing to journalist Mara Escampo details of the night he says Sean Combs coerced him into having sex with a woman at an out-of-control sex party.
In his lawsuit, Pines alleged he was pressured into sexual acts to demonstrate loyalty, including being pushed to have sex with a woman during what was described as a Wild King night. He also claimed he was responsible for cleaning up after these parties, which allegedly involved drugs, alcohol, and sexual activities.
Freak off sometimes lasted days at a time.
Alcohol, marijuana, ketamine, baby oil, and astroglide were very important. Candles, incense.
While Pines' allegations were initially viewed by some as separate from the court charges against Combs, yesterday's revelation suggests a disturbing pattern of behavior that prosecutors now argue extends to witness manipulation and perjury. The judge's reaction yesterday came after prosecutors presented evidence that Combs had not only lied about contacting witnesses, but had also potentially attempted to orchestrate what amounted to a form of jury tampering. The revelation that one of the potential jurors worked at MDC Brooklyn, the very facility where Combs has been detained, raised immediate red flags. While no direct connection between Combs and this juror has been established, the failure of both legal teams to identify this obvious conflict during the vetting process prompted a strong response from the bench.
Get this far.
Yeah, how did he get to the point where he's coming in front of the court and this is being put on record? Not only does it not look like, it doesn't look good, right?
This incident, coming on the heels of allegations that Combs had lied under oath about witness contacts, created what one courtroom observer described as
so one of the witnesses know Diddy? How did Diddy
fall? Legal tensions were further fueled by what prosecutors described as a pattern of legal maneuvers designed to delay and obstruct the proceedings. On April 18th, 2025, Combs' attorneys had requested a 2-month adjournment to better prepare their defense, initially suggesting a 2-week delay. This request came after a third superseding indictment on April 4th, 2025, which added 2 new charges, 1 count each of sex trafficking and transportation to engage in prostitution. Judge Subramanian had denied this request, stating Combs had sufficient legal representation with at least 4 attorneys, and that the trial date of May 5th, 2025 would not be delayed. The judge also noted he would not allow a fishing expedition for more evidence. Yesterday's hearing brought these tensions to a head, with clear indications that the court viewed Combs' alleged deception about witness contacts as part of a broader strategy to undermine the judicial process. Legal analysts present in the courtroom later described the proceedings as extraordinarily tense as the evidence of alleged perjury mounted. The decision to refer the matter for potential additional charges indicated the seriousness with which the court viewed these allegations. But beyond the immediate courtroom drama, yesterday's revelations have potentially far-reaching implications for the trial itself. With credibility now a central issue, Combs' defense strategy faces significant new challenges. The allegations against Combs are already extremely serious. He faces federal charges including racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking, and transportation to engage in prostitution, with prosecutors claiming these activities form part of a criminal enterprise spanning from 2004 to 2024. The specific charges relate to allegations that Combs operated a criminal enterprise, using his business empire to coerce women into sexual acts during events termed freak-offs, and employing threats, violence, and blackmail to maintain control. These charges alone carry potentially severe penalties. If convicted on all counts, Combs could face decades in prison, but the addition of potential perjury charges adds another layer of legal jeopardy, with federal perjury convictions carrying up to 5 years of imprisonment per count. More immediately concerning for the defense is how these revelations might influence the jury pool. While jurors are instructed to consider only the evidence presented at trial, the publicity surrounding yesterday's dramatic confrontation could potentially impact the perspectives of those ultimately selected to hear the case. The judge's decision to revoke certain procedural privileges previously extended to Combs and his legal team also creates tangible challenges for the defense. While the specific privileges in question have not been publicly detailed, legal experts suggest they could include limitations on the filing of certain motions or restrictions on how the defense can present particular arguments or evidence. In a case of this complexity, such limitations could significantly impact defense strategy, particularly if they restrict the ability to challenge the admissibility of certain evidence or the testimony of specific witnesses. The timing of these developments, just days before opening statements are scheduled to begin, also creates practical challenges for Combs' legal team. With limited time to adjust their strategy, they now face the daunting task of preparing for trial under a cloud of judicial disapproval and with potentially reduced procedural options. Beyond the courtroom dynamics, yesterday's revelations have sparked renewed interest in the testimony of other witnesses and accusers who have come forward with allegations against Combs. Another key witness expected to feature prominently in the trial is Courtney Burgess, who has made serious allegations against Combs, including claims about possessing sex tapes and referring to the music mogul as Lucifer in an interview with News Nation. Burgess claims to have videotapes showing Combs and other celebrities engaging in sexual acts and assaults, with some allegedly involving minors. He further claimed in a News Nation interview that at least 3 of the individuals in the tapes were underage, and that the celebrities were drugged against their will. While Combs has vehemently denied these allegations, filing a $50 million defamation lawsuit against Burgess, his lawyer Ariel Mitchell, and News Nation, the claims add to the complex tapestry of accusations the jury will potentially need to evaluate. The trial has also been complicated by allegations involving other high-profile figures. In March 2025, a lawsuit named NFL star
Experience an incredible selection.
Junior.
Odell Beckham Drewski. Ooh, shit.
In a violent gang rape in 2018 in Orinda, California. Both Beckham and Drewski
This
have
shit is
denied
getting
the allegations.
crazy.
Beckham stating he was not in Orinda, California at the time and has never met the accuser. Drewski also denied
Nigga,
involvement,
we read the
noting in an
whole
ex-post that
paperwork,
he was not a
bitch.
public figure in
Shit,
2018
wow.
and had no entertainment industry connections. These interconnected allegations create a complex web that prosecutors will need to carefully navigate as they present their case. But yesterday's
Brown
dramatic
got fellatio
developments
by
suggest that the focus of the trial may increasingly shift to Combs' credibility
Justin
and his
Bieber,
alleged
bitch.
attempts to manipulate the judicial process. According to courtroom observers, the atmosphere in the room was described as electric with tension during yesterday's proceedings. For Combs and his legal team, the path forward suddenly seems fraught with new and significant challenges. The dramatic developments have not only potentially damaged Combs' credibility in the eyes of the court, but have also created practical obstacles that could impact their defense strategy. As all parties prepare for opening statements scheduled to begin on Monday, May 12th, the events of yesterday have cast a long shadow over the proceedings. What was already a high-profile case with potentially severe consequences has now taken on an additional dimension, with issues of judicial integrity and respect for the legal process moved squarely to center stage. The question now is how these developments will influence the trial going forward, and whether yesterday's dramatic revelations mark a turning point in what promises to be one of the most closely watched legal battles in recent memory.
Damn.
The legal fallout and future implications. As the hood continues to process the wild events that went down in Judge Subramanian's courtroom yesterday, all eyes are turning to what this means for the long-term situation facing Sean Diddy Combs, his legal squad, and this high-profile trial that's about to pop off. Legal experts from across the spectrum have been quick to weigh in on the significance of the judge's response to allegations that Combs lied under oath about witness contacts. The consensus emerging from these analyses suggests that yesterday's developments may represent a critical turning point in the case, one that fundamentally changes the game and potentially reshapes how this whole thing plays out. At the most immediate level, the judge's decision to refer the matter for consideration of additional perjury charges creates a new and significant legal vulnerability for Combs. Federal perjury charges ain't no joke, carrying potential penalties of up to 5 years in prison per count. More than that, they strike at the heart of the judicial process itself, reflecting what courts view as a fundamental breach of the trust and integrity upon which the legal system depends. When a defendant is believed to have lied under oath, it creates a cascade of problems for the defense, explains prominent legal analyst and former federal prosecutor Elena Michaels. Not only does it potentially expose the client to additional charges, but it damages credibility with the court in ways that can be virtually impossible to repair. This damage to credibility may be particularly consequential given the nature of the existing charges against Combs. The music mogul already faces a formidable array of federal charges, including racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking, and transportation to engage in prostitution. All serious offenses carrying substantial potential penalties. These charges stem from allegations that between 2004 and 2024, Combs operated what prosecutors describe as a criminal enterprise, using his wealth, power, and influence to coerce women into participating in sexual activities.
At the time of his life.
Termed freak-offs or wild kid nights. The indictment further alleges that Combs employed threats, violence, and various forms of intimidation to maintain control over victims and prevent them from speaking out. The seriousness of these allegations is reflected in the fact that Combs has been denied bail 3 times, most recently in November 2024, when Judge Subramanian cited compelling evidence of Combs' propensity for violence and a serious risk of witness tampering as justification for continued detention. Beyond the immediate legal ramifications, yesterday's confrontation also raises significant questions about the strategy and approach approach of Combs' defense team. Led by attorneys Mark Agnifilo, Tenny Garagos, Alexandra Shapiro, and Anna Estevao, this team now faces the daunting task of rebuilding credibility with the court while simultaneously preparing for a complex trial under increasingly challenging circumstances. The judge's decision to revoke certain procedural privileges previously extended to the defense creates tangible obstacles that could impact their ability to present a comprehensive and effective case. While the specific privileges in question have not been publicly detailed, legal analysts suggest they could include limitations on the filing of certain motions, restrictions on how evidence can be presented, or constraints on the questioning of particular witnesses. In a case of this complexity, procedural flexibility is crucial for mounting an effective defense, notes criminal defense attorney Jonathan Reynolds. Any limitations imposed by the court could significantly impact strategy and potentially influence the ultimate outcome. Additionally, the timing of these developments, just days before opening statements are scheduled to begin, creates practical challenges for the defense team. With limited time to adjust their approach, they must now recalibrate their strategy under
So they
less
should
than
have did a
ideal
speedy trial, but I don't
circumstances.
know if
This
niggas
task
be
is
wanting
made
a
all the
speedy
more
trial,
challenging
man.
by
You
the
get a speedy
breadth and
trial, now fuck
seriousness
your
of the
ass up.
allegations against Combs. The
Because the next
prosecution's
time all this
case
other just gives them
reportedly
more time
includes
to
testimony from
bring out
multiple alleged
extra
victims,
BS.
including individuals who claim to have been coerced into sexual
See?
activities at Combs' direction. One such individual is Philip Pines, Combs' former senior executive assistant, who has made detailed allegations about his experiences working for the music mogul from 2019 to 2021. In a lawsuit and subsequent media appearances, Pines has claimed he was pressured into sexual acts to demonstrate loyalty, including being pushed to have sex with a woman during what was described as a wild king night.
I just thought to myself, if I don't do this, I don't know what's going to happen. This has all been a very psychological, emotional roller coaster for me.
Pines has also alleged that he was responsible for cleaning up after these parties, which allegedly involved drugs, alcohol, and sexual activities. This included removing drug evidence, bodily stains, deleting compromising videos, and ensuring silence by tipping hotel staff.
Did you ever see Diddy engaging in sexual activity?
I wouldn't see him engaging, but I would see him directing. He's usually the one filming, from my experience. You were instructed to scrub these things, delete any photos and videos that might be on these devices.
These allegations align with other claims that have emerged in the various lawsuits filed against Combs, creating a pattern of behavior that prosecutors argue demonstrates a systematic approach to exploitation and coercion. Another significant figure in the case is Adria English, a former adult entertainer who filed a lawsuit in July 2024, alleging she was groomed into sex trafficking at Combs' white parties between 2004 and 2009. English claims she was forced to consume drugs like ecstasy and coerced into sexual acts with guests, with Combs allegedly using his influence to silence her through threats of harm or career damage. English's case has faced its own challenges, with her legal representation changing multiple times. By March 2025, two sets of lawyers had withdrawn from the case, citing various reasons including irreconcilable differences, undermining behavior, and questionable antics. Despite these setbacks, her allegations remain part of the broader narrative prosecutors are expected to present at trial. The allegations against Combs extend beyond his direct actions to include claims about his broader social and business circles. In March 2025, a lawsuit amended by Ashley Parham named NFL star Odell Beckham Jr. and comedian Drusky, among others, as defendants, alleging their involvement in a violent gang rape in 2018 in Orinda, California. While both Beckham and Drusky have vehemently denied these allegations, with Beckham stating he was not in Orinda at the time and has never met Parham. The claims add another layer of complexity to an already multifaceted case. Against this backdrop of serious allegations, the focus on Combs' credibility takes on added significance. The specific evidence that triggered the judge's response reportedly relates to phone records and witness statements contradicting Combs' previous testimony about witness contacts. According to court documents, prosecutors presented evidence that Combs had used other inmates' phone privileges at the Metropolitan Detention Center to make unauthorized calls to individuals connected to the case. This alleged circumvention of prison communications protocols was viewed as particularly problematic, as it suggested a deliberate and calculated effort to evade monitoring and oversight, an impression reinforced by the revelation that a potential juror worked at the very facility where Combs is being detained. For legal observers, the developments in Judge Supermedia's courtroom yesterday represent a rare and significant moment in what has already been an extraordinary case. The public nature of the proceedings, conducted in open court with journalists and spectators present, sends a powerful message about the seriousness seriousness with which the court views these allegations of perjury and obstruction. When a federal judge reacts strongly to evidence suggesting a defendant lied under oath, it's a seismic event in a trial, explains judicial scholar Priya Sharma. It signals not just disapproval, but a fundamental breakdown in the relationship between the court and the defendant. A relationship that, while necessarily adversarial in some respects, depends on a baseline of honesty and good faith. This breakdown potentially creates ripple effects throughout the trial process. While judges are expected to maintain impartiality regardless of their personal views of a defendant's credibility, the practical reality is that judicial perceptions can influence various aspects of the proceedings, from rulings on objections to decisions about admissibility of evidence. Moreover, while jurors are instructed to base their verdicts solely on the evidence presented at trial, the ambient atmosphere created by yesterday's confrontation could potentially seep into the courtroom in subtle ways that might influence the overall trajectory of the case. Beat takes on a more contemplative quality. For Combs' legal team, these developments create a strategic conundrum of considerable proportions. On one hand, they must continue to vigorously defend their client against the serious charges he faces. On the other, they must now do so while navigating a relationship with the court that has been severely strained by allegations of deliberate deception. This challenge is compounded by the judge's decision to revoke certain procedural privileges previously extended to the defense, a move that legal analysts describe as unusual, but within the court's discretion, particularly in cases where concerns about potential obstruction or manipulation have been raised. Whatever approach they choose, Combs' legal team now faces what one observer described as an uphill battle on terrain that has suddenly become much steeper. The presumption of innocence remains a cornerstone of our legal system, but the practical reality is that yesterday's confrontation has created additional challenges for a defense already confronting serious and multifaceted charges. For prosecutors, meanwhile, yesterday's developments potentially strengthen their overall narrative about Combs as someone willing to manipulate and intimidate others to protect his interests. The allegations of perjury regarding witness contacts align with their broader claims about how Combs allegedly operated his business empire, claims that form the foundation of the racketeering and sex trafficking charges at the heart of the case. Broader accusations about how he allegedly exerted control over employees, associates, and potential victims. Beyond the immediate participants in the trial, yesterday's dramatic confrontation also raises important questions about celebrity, power, and accountability in our legal system. Sean, Diddy Combs built an empire that spans music, fashion, media, and business. An empire that brought him enormous wealth, influence, and public adulation. The allegations against him now call into question how that power may have been wielded behind closed doors, and whether systems designed to protect vulnerable individuals functioned effectively in the face of such influence. These are questions that extend far beyond any individual case, speaking to broader societal concerns about accountability and justice. For the many alleged victims who have come forward with claims against Combs, yesterday's developments may represent a significant moment, a public acknowledgement of concerns they have raised about manipulation and intimidation. Many of these individuals have described fears of retaliation as a factor that kept them silent for years, with some claiming that Combs' influence made it difficult to trust that they would be protected if they spoke out. As all parties prepare for opening statements on Monday, the legal community remains focused on how Judge Subramanian will navigate the complex terrain created by yesterday's revelations. Having addressed concerns about potential perjury, he must now ensure that the trial proceeds fairly and impartially, with decisions based solely on the evidence presented in court. This balancing act, maintaining the integrity of the judicial process while ensuring that all parties receive due process, represents one of the most fundamental challenges facing any judge in a high-profile case. Yesterday's developments only heighten the difficulty of this task. For jurors who will begin hearing evidence next week, the responsibility is equally weighty. They must evaluate complex and often disturbing testimony about events alleged to have occurred over a span of 2 decades, determining where truth lies in a case that has already generated enormous public attention and controversy. The path forward from yesterday's extraordinary courtroom developments remains uncertain. The judge's referral for potential perjury charges creates a parallel legal track that could continue long after the current trial concludes. The revocation of certain procedural privileges creates immediate practical challenges for the defense team, and the public nature of the confrontation ensures that it will be discussed and analyzed in legal circles for years to come. What is certain is that the events in Judge Subramanian's courtroom yesterday have fundamentally altered the landscape of this high-profile case. What was already one of the most closely watched trials in recent memory has now taken on additional dimensions questions of legal significance and public interest. As Monday's opening statements approach, all eyes remain fixed on that Manhattan federal courtroom, where the next chapter in this extraordinary legal saga will soon unfold. The question now is not just whether Sean Diddy Combs will be found guilty or innocent of the serious charges he faces, but whether the integrity of the judicial process itself can be maintained in the face of what the court views as attempts to undermine it. For a music mogul who once commanded the attention of millions with his artistic and business achievements, the spotlight now shines with an altogether different intensity, illuminating not glamour and success, but allegations of exploitation, coercion, and now, potentially, perjury. The dramatic courtroom scene may ultimately be remembered as a significant moment in this high-profile case, sending a clear message that no individual, regardless of fame, wealth, or influence, stands above the law or the fundamental requirement of honesty before the court. That brings us to the end of this video.
Alright, we're back. So yeah, gang. Like I said, man, we're watching the files of Diddy in jail, bitch. Crip, nigga, like, it was crazy, like, just to see, like, all the people coming out of nowhere just to say, oh yeah, Diddy did this, you know what I'm saying, just to chirp and shit. Like, it's weird, bruh. It's like, you know, sometimes, man, you know, you can see that these motherfuckers trying to make a come up, and they probably is mad, you know what I'm saying, because, like, damn, they probably thinking, oh, it's going to be one day. It's going to be one motherfucking day. You might not be right at the bottom, but it's going to be a day where they going to try to catch your goofy ass. And they'll probably, they'll wait for that day, man. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, Diddy got too damn comfortable. You know what I'm saying? When you supposed to have that much money, young nigga, you supposed to be prepared for every fucking thing. Like on some Jay-Z shit. Diddy got too damn comfortable. This nigga just didn't give no fucks no more. You know what I'm saying? Like, you get that much money, young nigga, you supposed to at least make some ways to not lose that all, for your family to be up, and just not to get caught at the end of the day. But like I said, man, you know, when you working against the feds, you know, they can look at your shit for years and years and try to make some shit out of nothing. You dig what I'm saying? Crip. So hopefully Diddy don't get thrown out of court. I heard that he got mad at Cassie because she was going crazy. It's just like, bruh, they know it's a big fish on the line. They trying their hardest not to let this shit go like Young Thug. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, I feel like Cassie shouldn't even be like, her words shouldn't be that powerful, but it probably is because, you know, she make the main victim. Crip. But it's like, you know, once you got paid, that should have been like, okay, but you know how that goes, man. This jury, they feel some type of way. They trying. Did he talk to the jury on trial that he been knowing these people? He been talking to them, and somehow they on the jury trial, bro. They just trying to find up anything and everything just to try to make this case look like it's going bad for Diddy. So we just gotta see, man. It's like the beginning of the case. You know what I'm saying? So who knows how long? I think it started like on May the 5th. So who knows how long this case is gonna start and how long it's gonna take. At the end of the day, man, you know, we wish him best for Diddy. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of motherfuckers who probably might be in this fucking case. So prayers up to them three. So hey, man, that's how it goes, man. Like I said, man, this was the Diddy case file trial. Hope y'all enjoyed. Good, Northside, beat Crip, and gang children, Northside shit, man.
Hey, Dad, you know, dog, when we link up, dog, this shit be legendary. You know this instrumental, you the engineer on it, so Kodak everywhere.